the difference between embodiment, empowered embodiment, and enlightened embodiment. So embodiment is evolving. You know, it's something that we're mastering and stepping into more and more and more. It's kind of never ending on one level. If you keep choosing your brilliance, you keep choosing to exist, you keep choosing your sacredness, if you keep choosing that you're wanting to embody heaven, incarnate into heaven, right? And when I say heaven, I mean the magic and the beauty and the peace and the love and the joy and all the virtues, the tolerance and the wisdom and all those beautiful things that make up life. If you keep choosing all of those things, you're going to notice that the embodiment and the soul incarnation takes on different forms. So when people teach, and which is why when I teach embodiment, there are higher layers to it, as opposed to just teaching technical embodiment or technical somatic work, which means of the body, right? So when we talk about embodiment, we are saying, and from the perspective of soul incarnation, we are saying that the soul needs to now come into the body, that the soul must incarnate and the soul must take position in the body. Therefore, anything that is not of the soul, or the soul's quality, or the soul's vibration, or the soul's consciousness, therefore needs to shift and change and transform. Which is why when people do a lot of embodiment work in the initial stages, there can be a lot of heavy emotions that will come up for the body to release and process. There will be old memories, old traumas, the way illness and stuff like that will come up for you to process out of your system so that your soul can take more position. And we use a variety of things from some embodiment techniques, which is using the body to help move the soul force back through the body, or using breath and using sound to actually help release the blocks, the emotional blocks. Because the thing about embodiment, right, at the beginning, is that we do have to go on a journey of getting in touch where there are stuck emotions inside of us, where there are such trapped feelings, such trapped hurt or trapped experiences. And the only way to help release them is to go into them. And so therefore, the only way to go into them is to be present with them and to feel them again and to process them again. So a lot of original work that we do with embodiment is actually going into the depths of your emotions, your outdated stories, your outdated identity, the way that these lower emotions clog the energy system and the organs in the body, and learning to unlock it and breathe through it and shift it out of the system, or talk it out of the system, or release it out of the system, or process it out of the system. And so when I teach embodiment, it's not just a simple thing of breathing into the lower emotions and releasing it from the body. We actually know that every single lower experience, every denser emotion like anger, hurt, pain, betrayal, fear, grief, sadness, loss, abandonment, rejection, I mean, the list goes on of the complexities of experience and the emotions that it leaves inside of us, is that because the soul, I teach it from a perspective that the soul is using all of that stuff like fertilizer, like ingredients. You know, the lotus has to move through the mud. So when we allow the soul to embody, we're not just helping the body to release this stuff, we're helping the soul to come through and process the story, process the emotions, process the feelings, so that more wisdom can be granted to the person, more acceptance can be granted to the person, more, instead of having trauma points in their life, they then become power points of their life. And if we can help people move through all their lower emotions until they liberate them into a higher experience, right, then we are going to get more powerful embodiment taking place. Then we're going to get people who's like, oh, actually I had a bloody crazy childhood, but God didn't make me strong and independent and wise and tenacious. You know, that relationship I walked through, I'm almost kind of glad I walked through, because of da-da-da-da-da, and we recover ourselves. So a lot of the first phase of embodiment is recovering the self, recovering the true self. And we use all the stuff that blocks us and creates the illness and the mishealth and the contraction and the lethargy, right, as a fertilizer, as a fuel to unravel, to birth through, to make us stronger and wiser, and this is who I am. And so the deeper parts of embodiment, when we look at it this way, a person is going to learn to find their authentic voice. They're going to be able to have clear thoughts. A lot of us actually just have way too many thoughts going on inside our head, and we can't make clear decisions. So clearer thoughts. We'll be able to process our emotions much more quicker. So, life, and we'll also be able to identify our different emotions. I mean, a lot of people don't have any emotional intelligence, right? They cramp up anger and hurt and pain and jealousy and all into one feeling, and they like got this feeling that they're really stuck inside, but they can't even work out why they're stuck anymore, because they haven't even learnt the intelligence of being able to unpack and unravel and unlock the different layers of emotions that create the disembodiment. And so by doing this process of embodiment at the first level, we develop emotional intelligence, where you, the person, can learn to really differentiate between hurt and anger and grief and sadness and pain and loneliness and all those, so that there's more clarity. When we have more clarity, so much I want to tell you. Which way do I go? Let me go with this thought. When we have more clarity of our emotions, when we can process our emotions much quicker. So yes, there'll be times where we feel angry, and we can then just be angry, own our anger, get on with it, learn from it, and move forward. Or we can then go through processes where we are sad, we do experience grief, we learn from it, we evolve from it, and we move forward. Like, we want to get to a place where where we are human, we are experiencing stuff in life, right? It will give us an emotional reaction. Through that emotional reaction, we can learn from it, we can move through it, we can understand the lessons of why this experience has happened, and we can get a clarity of empowerment from it. And we do it in a much more quicker way when we become embodied. Those that aren't embodied, they can sit in their sadness for years. They can sit in their depression for 5-10 years. They can be anxious over everything all the time. And they get stuck in these patterns because their whole body is wired to the past, right? So they're just still living out that broken record all the time. Whereas when we start to create embodiment and the soul takes over, and we've learned to untangle ourselves, we naturally then can learn to process our emotions with much more efficiency, much more precision, much more excellence, and we can do it faster and faster and faster and faster, so that we then have we can have a dynamic experience with ourselves, right? I can feel anger, I can process it, I can move forward. It doesn't get, I'm feeling anger, is it the betrayal, is it the hurt, is it the, I don't even know what I'm feeling anymore, right? Because our body starts to get very efficient at the way it starts to process energy and emotions and experiences and challenges. And it's beautiful, because when we start to recover the soul and the body, it's a bit like the soul kind of turns into, I don't want to say like Ninja Warrior, but it's kind of got that vibe to it, right? Where the soul's like, okay, I know how to deal with this. I know what's going on here. I know how to feel this. This needs to go away. I need to put up boundaries here. And we can process things really quickly, so we can move forward quicker. And this is really how we start to quantum leap our lives faster and faster and faster, because we're not being slowed down by things. Our thoughts aren't tangling us up in anything. Our self-doubt, our worry, our complications are not like freezing us, which slows us down, right? Gabrielle is saying a Zen master. I love a Zen master. But when the soul starts to come through, there is a mastery. We can deal with it all so much better. We've got clarity about what we're feeling, why we're feeling it. Now, the evolution of this, which is so beautiful, is that the clearer we get in our body, the more our soul becomes present, the clearer we get with being able to discern the different emotions. and be able to process them with clarity, the clearer we then get to discern the different frequencies of the universe, right? Because the emotions, if we can get clear with all the different emotions and what they are, they're actually frequencies of energy. And it's probably one of the first learners, the first things that we start to learn before we start to be able to become more intuitive and more psychic and be able to read energy patterns in the world, because we've got clear emotional system. Then we're going to have more clarity with our thoughts. We can discern things better. This is that and that's that. We're much more present in our body because of our soul. We're not disassociated or anything like that. We then can interpret the frequencies of the universe. We can interpret other people with much more clarity. We can judge situations with much more clarity. We can feel the energies of the trees talking with us with much more clarity. Because, that's a tree energy. And you're no longer muffling it or distorting it or scrambling it with your outdated body or your clogged body. Because when we have a very clogged body, we will scramble information. We will scramble the frequencies that come. We'll misinterpret it. We'll twist it around. We'll say it to be something else, right? So it's beautiful. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful to know that the journey of embodiment allows you to have such clarity with yourself that then you start to have more clarity with the universe, and you can read and judge things and interpret things with much more precision. And then your psychic system starts to develop, your psychic seeing, your hearing, your feeling, your sensing, your knowing, your speaking, and your ability to interpret the universe increases, right? Because it's all part of the same energy. If I can interpret myself and my body clearly, if I begin there, right? I begin with learning to interpret myself clearly. I can then expand, and then I'll be able to interpret the universe and other people and situations more clearly, because it's just part of the progression of clarity. But it always begins with the self. Everything begins with the self, which is why, for me, soul incarnation work and embodiment work is so important and is pivotal. I can't even say the word pivotal to everything else, right? To everything else. So this is why we begin with embodiment, right? It's a journey of just getting clear with our authentic voice, clear with who we are, clear with our boundaries, clear with our yeses and our nos, clear with our standards. The clearer we get with our soul and our body, and the less tangled up with all our stuff, the easier it is for us to raise our standards. Well, I actually know this is who I am, and this is what I deserve. This is what I expect. And life will start to match that. You know, also because you're more clearer in you, you get to impact reality more, because you get to show up more in life with more presence. You're more present in your body. Your words have more power in them. Your energy field holds its alignments better. Right? And this is really important if we start to look at manifesting. The more you can be present, the more you can hold your energy alignments, the more you can constantly believe in the higher realms of possibility and prosperity and all of that, the more your manifestations are going to come into alignment. But if you've got a body that isn't clear, your manifestations are going to wobble like crazy, right? Because it's not going to work. Things fall apart. Oh my God, whatever the story. And then all of a sudden you're collapsing the whole manifestation because your system can't hold the frequency of it. Well, it's because your body is out of whack. The nervous system is still processing its trauma. You haven't quite arrived in your body, and you're letting other voices take over, right? So it's really essential for so many things to begin the journey of embodiment. So just let all that come into you, whatever codes or teachings just move through your body. You might want to just like give your body a little wiggle and a smile. Sometimes just visualizing all the cells in your body smiling and your cells just drinking in all this information into your body it can be really powerful, because it's all energy. As I'm speaking, I'm also transmitting an energy. your consciousness is processing a lot of information. Your body's going, oh, right, I get this. This feels right. That's what. And so just by spending a moment moving the energy, the consciousness, the awakening, the blossoming through your body is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Good. So embodiment is a powerful journey. We all have to take it. Right? We all have to take it. Like I said the other day, if you don't take position in your body, somebody else will. Something else will. I had this very beautiful quote today. If you don't find your own voice, somebody will find your voice for you, right? It's the same thing. If you don't find your soul first, something else will find you and you'll think that you're that, and then you'll be off on some other tangent. Okay. Let me just have a little bit of water because I want to move into empowered embodiment next. So I hope you get that and that all makes sense. Okay. So empowered embodiment. Hello, Tanya. Empowered embodiment is, so it's funny, when you start to teach, you're channeling, right? You're channeling information, you're channeling words with the deepest intention, because every time I come to speak, I'm trying to find the exact right words to pass on to you so that you get a comprehension, you get a awareness. And sometimes changing subjects a little bit means that I have to reconfigure myself. Like my whole body reconfigures, my brain reconfigures, my system goes through a journey of like reorganizing itself so I can deliver the next kind of topic on some level, because the information that needs to be given is has a different quality to it. So there was just a moment there, sorry, where I felt my whole body just reconfiguring a little bit. Okay, so empowered embodiment. This state is super important for us to live in this world. Whether we like it or not, life is a bit of a hustle, right? We have to be strong. It's like being in the waves of a sea, you're like a little, I don't know, you're a little coconut shell bobbing in the waves of the water. And, sometimes the water's really calm and the sun's really shining, and then other times there's a storm and you're like being knocked about by the waves back and forth, and then the wind comes and then you're up against the elements and the sun's burning on you, and then there's like this shark that wants to eat you, your little coconut shell, And so life is like this. Like there are a lot of elements. I don't want to use the word against us, but there's a lot of elements out there which kind of, if we're not strong, knock us about. How many times have we gone through life and we felt a little bit knocked by it, where we went to a certain, we went through life and we just felt knocked by life. Right? We got a bit bruised, we got a bit broken, we were a bit like, how did that happen? You all of a sudden walked into the wrong job or the wrong relationship, and you just got bowled over, and you went in there with all these great intentions, or you thought things were fine, and actually people were like having a whole other story with you, and you just get knocked around by life, right? And then on top of that, we've got to keep the order of our home and clean clothes and bills and food, and that's a whole other thing to deal with. And then we've got the planets going on, and then we've got Mercury retrograde, and we've got things that come up, and Jupiter and Uranus, and then we get knocked around by that. And then we've also got all the social media bombarding us all the time with a lot of other information, and then the way the world is, and we are just bombarded with so much stuff all the time. You walk down the street, other people's energies, you walk into the supermarket, there's just a lot of stuff going on. There's thousands of, like, if we really want to get into it, there's thousands of radio stations that are just like blaring out all that information, all the satellites that are like bringing down all the different kind of I don't even know what they call it, transmissions or whatever satellites do. You know, there's Wi-Fi everywhere. I mean, if that's not stressing out your system and you're being bombarded on some level with so much stuff, I mean, modern life is intense, right? It's intense. And then you've got to try and incarnate your soul and be embodied and do all the right thing and like, wow, whoa, you know, whoa, how did this happen? I have this secret fantasy actually of just going back to the temple and like living on top of a hill with this temple where no one actually comes to see me or visits me, and I just sit there and I meditate all day long, and that's all I do. And sometimes I'm like, oh, life was so much easier when I lived in a temple. But anyways, welcome to modern life. And so this is why empowered embodiment becomes super important. We want to feel so empowered by our soul force, right? Donatella would also love to chant mantras all day. I know. Yeah, no, I'm feeling it. We are creating our own temple as we speak, Donatella. Where was I? Got lost in the temple. Yeah, Gabriella, let's do it. Where was I? There was something there I was saying. Sorry, people. Put right into the temple there. Completely forgot about the modern life, empowered embodiment. Right. So empowered by the soul force. The soul force must be so strong in our system that we become so empowered by our own soul force. Thank you, Kathy. That we can hold ourselves. We can hold our energy. We can hold our boundaries. We can hold our standards. We can hold our direction. We can hold our vision. And we're stable in it. This is what empowerment is. It's like saying empowered is I empower myself. I do not need any external validation. I do not need any external recognition. I do not need, you know, anyone telling me I'm this or that. I can do that myself. I can encourage myself. I can validate myself. I can praise myself. I can be inspired by my own visions and my own direction. I have enough wisdom to pass through me that I know I can deal with any situation that I'm in. I am so empowered in my own self. I'm so strong and stable in who I am. It doesn't matter what goes on around me. I can hold my vision and I can hold my focus and I know where I'm going. Because this is where the big issue is. Many of us have dreams and visions of who we are and what we're meant to be doing, right? And we we go off to go do them. I'm off to do my thing, right? And then whoop, we get knocked by someone saying something to us, or we see someone else and they're doing it better than us, or oh my God, I had to get this thing done, and then all the paperwork kind of fell apart, and then something else happened there, and now it's Mercury retrograde. And then we start to collapse because the external environment is knocking us about, right? And really also what's happening is your internal environment is knocking you about, because our internal experience is always creating the external experience on some level, right? So if you're having a lot of those experiences, you need to go back to the embodiment stage and work through some stuff, get rid of the body patterns, get rid of, and that kind of thing on that level. But saying that as well, let me just tell you this little thing. If we go work on all our patterns and the things where we're wobbling and stuff like that, we're going to get so much more wisdom that when life does present itself with challenges, we're actually like, I know how to deal with this. I've got this, because you've actually evolved yourself out of some awful places within yourself, that you've actually developed so much more strength and wisdom and power that when you go back out into life again, you've got this. It kind of doesn't matter what comes your way. It's a bit like water off a duck's back, right? Because you're so strong in your sense of self. And so when we get strong in our sense of self, when we become empowered with our embodiment, as in our soul is empowering us, because if we need our soul on our side. We need our soul to keep pushing us through the dark nights of our soul, of the soul, right? When we feel like our soul's not, we need our soul to push us through the biggest challenges. We need our soul force to believe in ourselves when no one else believes in ourselves, right? I think Disney got rejected, rejected Walt Disney. I think he went to 3,000, is that right? 300 or 3,000 banks to get a loan, and they all rejected him. But he had a big belief in the vision, had a big belief in it. It didn't matter how many times he got rejected or things said no. He was like, I'm going for it. I know where I'm going. He was empowered by his own sense of self. He was empowered by his own vision, his own direction, where all this other stuff that it can be perceived as challenges or bad luck or the adversities or the life's against us, or it doesn't matter. You're strong to it. And we need people to be empowered, and we need people to be strong. We need people to empower themselves, because life and society is not set up to empower you, right? Particularly if in a capitalist society, right? We've also got to like make sure that we're leading ourselves. Tanya's saying, leadership without followers, thanks to the soul force. Amazing. Longing to feel empowered, Emma. Yes. Yeah, Emma, I'm feeling you. Internal environment is knocking me about. I feel I'm drowning in ancestral anger, rage, and I'm lost in a loop. Yeah, it's good. It's coming up to shift. So it needs to go, because we need to feel empowered. But we need our soul to empower us. I don't want we and the thing about when the soul force starts to take over, the ego starts to diminish, right? And so we're not having false praise. We're not being run by our ego or our false desires, thinking and using that as our motivation and to get things through. No, we've got our soul with us. So there's a much more clarity and empowered clarity in our system. And so this is the next reason why we need to keep embodying our soul, is because of the empowerment that comes. There's such empowerment that comes from the soul being, and this is what they talk about, sovereignty, being your sovereign brilliance, right? I love putting those two words together, sovereign brilliance. I am so sovereign in my own soul, in my own thoughts, in my own awareness, in my own wisdom. I'm sovereign with the choices I make, because I am one with my soul. This is the where I begin and end. This is my sovereignty, is because I am one with my soul, and it's easy. And the brilliance is like, I'm so one with my soul that I'm just shining out who I am, because I'm an embodied soul incarnated person. So then what then begins to happen is that as we move into empowered embodiment, the soul force is freer to move through the body and gives us more charges of energy through us. Like, it strengthens our hormones, our adrenal glands, our endocrine system. It's going to strengthen the bones. It's going to strengthen the natural physical life force within us to go and do what we need to do. Because our life force, because we've cleared ourselves. If we were stuck in all this stuff, then our life force is like trying to like move itself through all this stuff, right? And then you get tired, and then you get depressed, and then you feel like you're failing and you're walking up a hill all the time, right? But if we've got the soul starting to get embodied and there's an empowerment, the soul's going to empower the body. It's going to bring the energy. It's going to give the vibrancy, the curiosity, the wonder, that it's empowering you. That is that vibrant, alive state where we're all seeking. We all want to be that. We want to wake up feeling like we have a purpose, like we're going somewhere, like we're doing something. And we want that feeling to be stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And the more we choose it, the stronger it gets, right? So empowered embodiment is really powerful. And the other thing is that with empowered embodiment, the voice starts to wake up. Our ability to speak, our ability to say what our needs are, our wants are, the ability to say no. For some of us can't even say no, right? Or we're like, no, but I mean, yes, but maybe, I don't know, I'm confused what I should say because I'm still thinking that I should be pleasing you and I can't even work out if I should be pleasing myself. But if I'm pleasing myself, then I feel guilty. So then I don't know anymore. Is it a yes? Is it no? And we get tangled up, right? Because we're perceiving ourselves from the other person's wants and needs and our wants and needs. And I don't even know what I want and need anymore. But when you're in empowered embodiment, there's a clarity there. I know who I am. I know what I want. I know what I need. The voice starts to follow. There's an energy vibrancy in the body, and we don't. And this is important in the empowered embodied stage or state. I should say it's not even a stage; it's a state. We don't leak our power. We don't leak our energy. It's very easy for us to leak our energy. We can leak our energy by doing doing the things we shouldn't be doing, like too much scrolling or giving our energy away to another person, or doing things we don't want to do, or not eating the right. And we can leak our power in and our energy in many different ways. In the empowered embodied state, we don't leak our power. We own our power. We claim our power. We're aware of where we're putting our energy and where we shouldn't be putting it. And we're constantly adjusting our life to support us, to empower us. And so in this state, because remember, our body starts to influence our life, I'm empowered by my own soul. I'm going to make sure that my environment is empowering me. I'm going to have that conversation with my partner who's been a little bit shitty with me or whatever, and I need to flick this. I need them to empower me with my work, empower me with my vision. I'm going to flick my environment around, my home around, to empower me. I'm going to make sure my home is, I've got all these beautiful things around it that I feel supported and empowered by. I'm going to dress in a way that empowers me, because this is all part of the extension of your soul, right? So in the empowered body set, we're saying I empower myself, but I also create my environment to empower me. Right, which is beautiful, and we can do so many things to do that. And as soon as we're in this kind of state more and more, our solar plexus begins to get healthier, our chakras begin to get healthier. We get fed by life more because we're feeding ourselves. Like our soul is feeding us. We're allowing life to feed us, nurture us, support us. And then that extends beyond where we're feeling empowered by life to empower us. And we'll start to attract more friends that empower us, or we feel like the universe is empowering us or bringing us lessons and challenges. And then even if there are challenges and adversities at this state, it's like, that's interesting. I feel like I'm learning this and this from this situation, and it's going to empower me to do this. And then we realize that life is on our side. We're no longer the victim anymore. Right? So to get the body through this journey we all kind of must do it, And it's a journey and it's a process, and we all have our own universe in us. And so we all need to be unlocked in different ways and awakened in different ways to step into this soul embodied, empowered position, right? Which is why we go on a 6-month journey in the Eclipse coaching certification, because to get the skill to do this is life-changing for yourself, first of all, because let's save ourselves first, and then we can look at helping other people. So from the empowered, embodied state, it's beautiful. And remember, they're not stages, they're states. We are getting soul embodied. We are moving into an empowered, embodied position. And we're also moving into enlightened, embodied state as well. Before I move on into enlightened, embodied state, when we are in embodied empowerment, we naturally want to empower others, right? And we naturally start to seek for win-win situations. We naturally start to lead with more integrity. The path of leadership becomes easier, and the way to lead our lives, it becomes important. And an empowered person leads themselves, leads others, leads the direction of their life, leads their family, because they're wanting everything to keep moving into a more empowered state. So there's a very beautiful moment when we start to move into empowered embodiment, where we go, actually, I feel so empowered by myself. I feel like a natural leader. I feel like I can actually shift and change the situation here. And I kind of have to because I know better. And it's a beautiful moment because in that moment, we kind of also allow the conscious creator within us, the one that can recreate our life, to have more position to do its job better. Actually, I am a leader. I'm empowered. I can recreate this situation. I can make a change here. I can help people move in this direction. And we're beginning to impact and influence life, right? So there's a lot of qualities of leadership, self-leadership, leading yourself to your own mastery, leading life, leading others, being led by the universe, of leading your creations, leading your conscious creations, that all start to happen in empowered embodiment. So it's a very beautiful state to be in. And like I said, we need to be in all these states all the time on some level, because that's how we progress exponentially. Right? We progress exponentially. Like sometimes I know I need to just really hold my empowered embodiment state so that I can move some mountains. I can get my work done. I can show up and do what I need to do. I can be in alignment. I can have a strong field. I can, be in and other times I need to move into more enlightened embodiment where I open myself up to get the teachings that I need to, or contact my genius, and I need to be more of that state with my body. And so really what happens is, as we become more masterful, is that we're learning to move our body and our system in different ways depending on what we're needing and what the situation is needing. Which is why I'm saying all these states kind of happen simultaneously, but we can also call upon them when we need to reorganize our life. And this is mastery, right? We're wanting to make the body move into mastery, because how else are we going to master our lives? It's a tough game out there, trust me. Fun one, interesting one, but it requires some strength. So just drink in all that information. Maybe you want to move your body a little bit. Maybe you feel things popping and fizzing inside of you. Maybe you want to give yourself a good shake. Maybe you want to move the energy up your spine. Maybe you want to breathe. Maybe you've got some old stuff you want to move out. Just let all this teaching come into you. And we're going to move on to enlightened embodiment. Okay. Tanya's saying, especially in these times with the news and all what's happening in the world, it's fantastic to have this perspective now. You're so welcome. So welcome. So welcome, Farina. Okay. Again, my body's reconfiguring. So enlightened embodied states. For me, enlightened embodiment is the moment our system gets flooded with our own light. We recognize we're sacred. There's a clarity of self, like there's a clarity of who we are. Yeah, there might be some stuff that still needs to shift and change, and that's an ongoing journey. We're always moving through stuff. It doesn't end. This, even like going back to that embodied state where we have to realize the stuff that we have to untangle from. It's a constant journey. The stuff that's always going to come up in life that is going to bring up stuff or make, and we're constantly moving through all this stuff all the time. But the quicker we can do it, the faster, the easier life is, the more interesting life is, the more magical life becomes, right? And I think that's the key around enlightened embodiment. It's magical. It's sacred. It's supernatural on some level. So what will start to happen to the body as we move into embodied enlightenment, the soul force becomes clearer, but more light starts to flood the system. Like more light floods our body, floods our eyes, floods our energy system, and it wakes up more of the energy pathways within us and floods the energy pathways with more light. So we've got more light flowing through our system, more healing energy starts to happen through us, more a different quality of lightness arrives at us. And we begin to realize that all these hundreds and thousands of energy pathways that are in our system are just reaching out like little, they move beyond the body, because in enlightened embodiment state, we're starting to move into the energy field more, and we're starting to move into embodying the divine universe. And so we get all these hundreds of little thousands of energy that just kind of start to wake up, and they start to connect to more consciousness. They start to connect to more higher frequencies. they start to connect to on one level more of the invisible realms, or the dimensions that our physical body doesn't normally connect to. So in these enlightened embodied states, we can have more connection, or telepathic communication with the trees, or feel the energy of the trees, or the messages from the trees. We can have more connection and telepathic communication with the crystals we have, or to other people's higher selves, or to the angels above us, you know, or your spirit guides, or your spirit. We start to have more of a telepathic connection to all of life. And this is a beautiful place to be in, because you know, when we're in our stuck states, our disembodied states, we feel very separated. We feel very separated. We feel very isolated. We feel very alone. We feel very abandoned, right? And then as we move into more of the heightened states, we feel more one with everything. We feel more connected. We feel like everything's on our side. So it's a very, very beautiful position to start to move into, this enlightened embodied place. The psychic senses start to wake up. You might feel or get more images, and there's a different connection to the environment. This is the place where we start to get messages, you know, like numbers start to appear, 111, 222, or you know, we get more synchronized meetings where people come into our life and show us stuff and teach us stuff. This is the moment where we get more divine timings happening, where magical moments in life happen, and we feel we get upgraded. You know, we might walk into a sacred site or a sacred temple, and our body gets upgraded and activates, and we could have spontaneous divine timings when our whole body is so charged with so much light from the universe and your soul that the system needs to upgrade, and you get sleepless nights, and you get like energy moving through you, and you like woo, because everything's upgrading all the time. Enlightened embodiment state is also like, I can call down the high frequencies of heaven to embody them. I can feel the vibration of peace. I can tune, you know, we talked about tuning our system to the different emotions, tuning our system to the different frequencies of the universe. Well, in enlightened embodiment, we can tune out like a radio station to the high frequencies of peace and love and joy, because they're all frequencies. They're all coded with stuff. And we can learn to embody it. We can learn to open up our chakras, our cells, and drink those higher frequencies into our body. And through that, learn, become more conscious, move it through our system, open up ourselves. And so it's a very heightened state. This is the state where because we're so clear, we're so connected, that the genius part of us gets to flower through us. You know, we might get deeper inspiration about what we need to create, or the visions we have, or how to help, or we might get instant messages of how to solve the problem. You know, it's a magical state. It's a beautiful state, enlightened embodiment. And it said, and this is sometimes the outside in embodiment I talked about, where we can call higher frequencies, higher into our system, to embody them, to embody that consciousness, so that our soul can exist even more. So let me tell you this little secret. I've got to find the right words now. So if we can embody higher vibrational frequencies or teachings or energies, whatever you want to call it, and we learn to embody them, we learn to recode our system with them, we learn to activate our system, then those frequencies will then come into our soul force and teach our soul force to exist even more in heaven, to exist even more in these higher vibrational dimensions. Because sometimes your soul is also needing to evolve and awaken and go to another level so that it can increase its embodiment, right? Which is why we're always going on a journey of learning and awakening and becoming more conscious, because the soul also needs to up level and evolve and grow. And so enlightened embodiment can sometimes bring all the high vibrational information to you, to awaken your soul to go, that's right, I remember now, I remember what I'm doing now, oh right, and can help open the gates for it to exist more, right? On some level, this is what all these teachings are doing for you, is you're getting information through your body, like a transmission. Your soul's going, all right, that's right. Okay, I got that. Yeah, that I needed that. Foot, right, now I can do this. Right? And we have these enlightened moments in our lives all the time to help this. It could be reading a book, it could be even just dancing, and you're like, something enlightened wakes up inside of you, right? But it's a beautiful, beautiful state. It's very playful, very magical, very, very connected to all there is. There was a little thought that went zoop, like a little light particle through my head, and now what was it? Let me just see. In the enlightened embodiment state, we're learning to embody more heaven. We're learning to embody more free. We're learning to open our capacity to handle greater experiences of love, holding our capacity to experience and handle greater experiences of prosperity. We're retraining our system to embody these higher states of consciousness in our lives every day. And so in this enlightened embodiment state, you'll start to notice life becoming more loving, becoming more kind. Good things are happening more often, right? You're feeling more abundant, you're feeling more prosperous, because you're learning to live in that reality more and more and more and more. And we have to sometimes open our capacity and practice that. And enlightened embodiment is all about that journey, because remember, we're constantly wanting to expand into reality. Our soul wants to do that. So it's beautiful. So just drink all of that in and let all that enlightened embodiment configure through you. Drink it all in. You might want to do some movement or some dancing later on. We don't have time. Tomorrow I might be able to take you through more of an embodiment process, but we've kind of hit the hour. But I think what's more important is that you understand these three states, how they play out, and noticing the times that your body is shifting from these different states naturally, right? And also knowing that there are certain ways that we can help quicken the process, advance the process, help you master it, which is very beautiful as well. So drink all that information in. I'd just like to know in the chat how everyone's going. Is everyone getting what I'm saying? Are you getting some, hopefully your soul force is like coming out more. But just, yeah, move your body a little bit. And just let all this information come through. Sometimes, I really recommend people after an embodiment session to go and do some stretching or some dancing after it, because the body needs to change its shape. There's a lot of consciousness that's coming through, and the body needs to open up, change its shape a little bit. So please stretch, please integrate, because I think what this session is doing, there's a lot of information. Can you integrate it? Can you integrate it into your body? Can you breathe it down? Can you stretch it through? Can you dance it out? So Adele is saying, great teaching. Thank you so much. Leanne, yes, absolutely making sense. Renee saying, wonderful. I feel very powerful activation happening in my body while you were talking. Yay. Roxanne, can't wait for the replay. Beautiful. Kathy, tons of chills during the teachings. Amazing. So it's like activations moving through the body. And this is part of the embodiment, right? When the body is having its own activations and chills and goosebumps and feelings and sensations as it's becoming more conscious. Beautiful. Tan, yes, looks exciting. I see more the very added value of this training and how it integrates with Vedic healing for me. Yes, it's powerful, powerful teachings. Goosebumps. Beautiful. Amazing. So